On RBLcatering.com, we list we have the catering menu, which is barbecue. And then there is a tab that's more than barbecue. And on that tab, it gives you menus that we can make if you want. And then we also take requests. If we can do it, we'll do it. But we'll cook. We have a taco menu. We have an Italian menu. We have a home style menu that has brisket pot pie and just different things. I know our chicken and dumplings is really popular with a lot of athletes that we serve. So we just have a bunch that I think people would be shocked to know that we did. We have a Love Always menu for weddings, and that's our more upscale menu. You'll find salmon on there. You'll find ribeyes on there. We did a private tasting dinner.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden, and today we have Mercedes Harris with RBL Catering, which is part of RBL Ventures, which everybody around here would know as the Redneck BBQ Lab, which is one of the businesses underneath RBL Ventures. And so we're going to talk to her a little bit about the Redneck BBQ Lab restaurants, their expansion, the different types of catering that they have. They now have a commissary kitchen behind the Lowe's here at 4042, and they can feed up to 10,000 people at a time. So we're going to talk a little bit about all things RBL and one of my favorite restaurants, Redneck BBQ Lab. But before we get to that, we're going to ask you to like, follow, or subscribe this podcast wherever you're seeing this podcast today, whether it be on Apple, Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, so that you'll be aware of future episodes of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. We also ask you if you would be kind enough to leave us a 5-star review down at the bottom wherever you're seeing this podcast. It will help with our visibility so more people will become aware of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. And if you would mind sharing it on your Instagram stories and tagging the Best of Johnston County Podcast, that's another way for people to find out about this little podcast we're doing here in Johnston County. Welcome, Mercedes.
Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem. We were just talking off air. I go to Redneck BBQ Lab so much and their food truck and stuff. I've seen you before. It's the first time I've actually sat down and met you. Yeah. But anyway, tell the people, what's your name? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm Mercedes. I guess I would say I'm from Raleigh. I was born in Pullman, Washington, so West Coast, but we moved here pretty quickly because my dad started coaching at NC State for the men's basketball team, and he did that for 20-something years, so I pretty much grew up in Raleigh. So yeah, that's kind of all, and I work for RBL, and I'm the CEO of their catering company now.
Oh, that's cool. So your father coached with Herb Sendek.
Yes.
And still works at the barbecue lab at North Hills, because I talk to him when I go in there.
Yes.
And he probably gets tired of me reliving stories of him and Herb Sendek and games they won and games they lost. I sat there with him one night for 2 hours. Me, Ken Medlin, who used to work at WRL News, and Michael Eatman, an attorney in Nashville, sat there while they cleaned the whole place up and relived NC State basketball stories. And he coached James Harden, and we talked about James Harden and James Harden's mom and all of that stuff. So once I figured out who he was, because the first 2 or 3 times I went in there, it was like, I know this man. And I was trying to place it. And then Kim Medlin's like, I know who that is.
Yeah, I'm sure he loves it. He probably wishes you would do that every week, the glory days. NC State basketball.
Oh my goodness. And your dad's name is
Larry Harris.
Larry Harris. Oh my goodness. He was something else. He coached basketball a long time. Anyway, we may have to have Larry Harris come on this podcast and we can relive its old NC State college basketball days when I was just at NC State and practicing law. And oh my goodness, we lost the ACC championship game where I think that JJ Redick scored 20 points in the last 10 minutes. So anyway, but that's fascinating.
Julius Hodge era changed everything.
Oh, Julius Hodge. Oh man, that's great. Yeah. All right. Anyway, big NC State fan here. Anyway, always a fan of your dad's and all the hard work he did there at
Awesome.
State. So anyway, well, golly, that's a small world. So
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were going to go there. But back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I think you went to UNC Charlotte.
I did.
Okay.
Mhm.
And what kind of degree did you get there?
I have a business management degree from
Okay.
the Belk School of College.
All right.
School of Business. Yes.
All right. And then I think you went to work for Hilton.
Yes, I went to Hilton in Charlotte, and then I was like, oh, I want to move back home. I ended up getting an offer from the State View, which is on NC State's campus, their Centennial campus, and that is a Marriott brand. So I did that for a little bit, and then if anyone knows anything about hotels, you just kind of shuffle around when you're in hotel management. So then I moved to a DoubleTree property, which was back to Hilton, and then I ended up here.
Okay, I got you. So what did you learn? I mean, you were Marriott and Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, two of the premier brands
Mhm.
in the world, actually.
Yeah.
What did you learn about customer service and providing a consistent product there working for those two brands?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of where I learned everything about like people and like how to manage people, both customers. A lot of people think it's customer management, but a lot of it is like the behind the scenes management as well. And like getting a large group of people to be on the same page and work towards the same thing and it be good. That in itself is a process. And then add the fact that there's also clients and customers in an outside world that you also want to think everything is good too. So
Right. Well, and I know one of the things that, and I don't know if it's Marriott or Hilton. I listened to a podcast called Creating Disney Magic with a guy named Lee Cockrell, who was the executive vice president of Walt Disney World Resorts.
Okay.
But he started his career in the hotel business, and he worked for the Marriotts and he worked for Hilton.
Mhm.
And he's so old, he's like in his 80s.
Yeah.
He knew Conrad Hilton and J.W. Marriott. And
Mhm.
so, and I don't remember which one, but he talks about to be great, you have to be great at everything. And one of those two men taught him that.
Mhm.
I don't remember which one, but I think that's a good point. And I'm sure you probably have taken that into your job of RBL. Like everything matters.
Customer service as a whole, I would say everything matters. And I think the one thing that people don't realize, I tell our staff all the time, like we have to be perfect. Even though being perfect is impossible, we have to be, because even if you had 1,000 orders today and you only messed up one, that one order, like those people feel like, oh, this brand is terrible. Like, you know what I mean? When it's like, oh no, like we did 999 orders that were amazing. Like it was just this one thing. Most people don't, see outside of what's happening to them and they don't have to. So it's kind of just like figuring out how to be perfect, knowing that that might be impossible, but striving for it every day.
I know the feeling here at my law office. I mean, we may get it right 199 times, but the one time that maybe we don't get it exactly right, we get a 1-star review.
Yep.
And that just, I guess, cuts at us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we know, and sometimes they're deserved.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not. But I mean, that's how it is dealing with the public. And
for sure.
we try to get it right every time, just like y'all try to get it right every time. So, well, let's talk about, so you leave, so you did food and beverage in the hotel business.
Yes.
And so then you come on, when did you come on with RBL?
Oh, I definitely should have looked this up so I say the right thing, but I'm pretty sure it was the end of 2018, maybe beginning of 2019. But yeah, around there, I came on. Todd Breeden found me on Indeed. I know everyone's LinkedIn, but I'm an Indeed to the ground girl. Every job, every hotel job I got, even serving job I got from Indeed. So he found me on there and asked me to come out, and I came out and I interviewed at the Redneck BBQ Lab, which is attached to a gas station, and they were established, of course, but I didn't know about it at all. I'd never heard of it. And I'm in my hotel uniform, heels, name tag, everything. So walking in there, okay, and then I pulled up and I was like, oh, this might not be the attire. But it ended up being amazing. They told me about their vision and what they wanted and where they saw everything going. And if you sit down with Todd Breeden, Jerry Stephenson at any point, you don't leave that meeting or that sitting without believing in absolutely everything that they say. And so that's what happened to me. And I was like, I'm on board, like whatever we need to do. So.
Right. So what, I mean, I guess if you know the story, I mean, I don't know the whole story. I know parts of the story.
Mm-hmm.
They are world champion barbecue cooks on the weekends in their backyards with regular jobs.
Yeah, so Jerry was like the cook, and then they're best friends from college. And so they obviously, like, Todd has just always been in the business world. He's had like multiple different companies and just been like kind of into business venture. And then Jerry was cooking, but he, of course, like has worked normal jobs. I know he's like he worked construction with his dad before and has like built Smithfields and like Golden Corrals and things like that. But always was into barbecue, always was into cooking. And then he was competing and started winning things, and people were like, oh, you're kind of good at this. So then his best friend is like on the business side of things, and they just kind of came together and were like, let's see what can happen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really neat. I mean, because Jerry had won. I mean, he'd been to Kansas City. I mean, like all those trophies in the Redneck BBQ Lab at McKee's Crossroads are legit. Like they're not fake. Like he won all of them, and that's not even all the ones he's won.
No.
I mean, and so and the World Championships of Barbecue are in Kansas City, in the middle of the racetrack now, the Kansas City Speedway.
Yeah.
And I guess there's some stories about what goes on overnight when they're cooking that barbecue at the Speedway. But he goes there and competes with guys from Texas and all over the place, and has had a tremendous amount of success.
Yeah, I think that's the most impressive part is a lot of the awards he's won, obviously the World Championships, but a lot of them, I mean, even local ones, when he'll go to like Apex, there's a competition there and he'll always compete just because, like, of course you want to compete locally. And it's people from everywhere. Like it's people from New York. It's, you know, like who just cook barbecue. And I did not realize like how big of a deal this was and like how insane it is and competitive it is and how good people are until I started like going and working with him. And so now it's just like that much more impressive to me. Like I'm like, oh, you actually are like the best out of like the best, which is
right.
Cool. Yeah.
No, I mean, I get it. And I mean, I grew up in Lawrenceburg, North Carolina, and I love barbecue. We had General MacArthur's, and I think he did some of the competitions when he was younger. He's much older now. But yeah, and the best thing you can do, if you've never done this, go to a competition, and then they usually start at like 7 or 8 p.m. at night, and they cook till 8 or 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning, and then they judge it. And then they either sell the plates or give the plates away of all the barbecue that got cooked for a charity or whatever.
Yeah.
Just go to one of those and you will leave happy.
Yep.
I mean, like any barbecue competition anywhere. I don't care what level it is. It is phenomenal. Try different types, different sauces. It is great. Normally it's a charity involved, but whatever it is, just go to the lunch after they finish the competition and just quote unquote pig out, because it's a lot of fun.
Literally,
so
you will get fed for sure.
So what was that vision they shared with you?
Well, I know that they pretty much were just like, here's a 10-year plan. And I feel like all of that got sped up and it's been done in about 3, which is insane. But pretty much they were just like, we want to expand. Like we see ourselves in Johnston County, and like Johnston County is our home. Like this is the people that we know, everything like that. But also we think that other people would enjoy this food. And so figuring out how to not only just expand the brand with the Barbecue Lab at North Hills, but also how do we reach the most people that we possibly can, and catering kind of felt like the next step to that. They were already doing catering and like had kind of a smaller catering operation, which was pretty much local, and they would go and like feed. And Jerry himself would have to go on a lot of the events when I started. And so he was like, how do we reach the most people possible and also like have a staff and this be a whole thing, conglomerate, if you will. And so, yeah, that's when I was like, yeah, that would be insane and so fun.
I know. I mean, that's great. And I could be wrong, but and I'm definitely not an expert on Redneck BBQ Lab, but I thought that one of the reasons he wanted to open a standalone restaurant was to help promote his catering business that he was already doing, to sort of be the front saying, if you like this restaurant, I'm doing this catering thing, and, to help sort of grow the catering business.
Yes. See, that makes me feel like you're an OG.
Yeah, well,
The OGs know that, like, truly, I like go back and forth about this, but like truly RBL started with catering. Like, I will die on that hill.
Right? Well, they were catering before he had the restaurant.
Yeah. And so they were like, just going, and it was literally like him and like maybe a couple of his friends, and they would go and like bring the barbecue. And then they were like, they were going to open McGee's as a commissary kitchen to just cater. But then once people found out McGee's was there, people would come up and be like, we want to eat. So then he's like, okay, let me put an inside in here. Let me put a drive-through in here. And so now it's like a fully functioning restaurant. And he was like, I just feel like there's this potential in catering that I haven't even like unlocked or tapped. And that has led us many places, as I'm sure you know, like as a hurricane.
Oh no, yeah, right. I mean, so do you know which year he went to? They did the franchise at North Hills, which is called the Barbecue Lab, and it's right next to the movie theater and the Chick-fil-A. And I've eaten there many times. Talked to your dad about Wolfpack basketball. Yeah. So, So I mean, was it 2001, 2000? It was after COVID.
It's been about a year and a half. We announced it before COVID, which was, I'm sure, painful for a lot of people because we announced it before COVID, and then obviously COVID happened. And we were like, we're not going to open during COVID. That would probably be impossible. And then also just trying to make sure that you keep all your staff and things like that. So we announced it before, and then we ended up opening after COVID. So it's been open for about a year and a half. I think it'll hit 2 years in October.
Okay.
So that'll be nice.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So 2 years in October of 24. Well, I remember one time it was done, but they couldn't find employees.
Well,
and they were trying to find employees because, there was when the restaurant business was really struggling to find people.
We definitely had enough employees to open. It was more like, how do you open 7 days a week with also getting the limited amount of employees that you have breaks. So we started out being closed on Monday and Tuesday. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Hopefully not, because I know it wasn't a great time. But Monday and Tuesdays we would close because the staff that worked there would work from Wednesday to Sunday.
I got you. So when did your dad go to work there?
Honestly, he's pretty much there every day, which is nuts. Like, I'm just like, go home, like do something else, but he loves it. So
did you recruit him into working there?
Yeah, my dad like retired and was like home and retired and like just golfing and chilling. And we actually have a location at Dirtbag that's just open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I needed like people to go out there, and I needed like kind of like a manager. We already had someone that was like a GM, but I was like, I need someone that's like basically like eyes and ears out there because Hope Mills is like a bit of a trek. And I was like, okay, Dad, like, would you just like drive this van that like has food in it and drive the food to them from the commissary and then just like kind of tell me what's going on? And so that is how him being involved in RBL was born.
Okay. So y'all have a location in Fayetteville. I didn't know that. Okay, where's that at?
Yeah, so it's at Dirtbag Ales, which is kind of like this brewery. They have like a cocktail lounge. They have live music out there. It's like really cool. It's kind of a campus. And we have a trailer there, but it functions as like a full restaurant. They have a full menu. They have french fries at that one and hush puppies, which Redneck does, I know. So they function Friday, Saturday, and Sunday out there.
Okay, so but now the barbecue lab at North Hills is open 7 days a week from like 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. I think.
Yep. Yeah, until they run out. So like sometimes it's going to be 8 or 8:30, but yeah.
Yeah, get there early, right? Yeah, because well, I mean, when you're cooking stuff fresh, you can run out. And, and I learned that when I started going to Texas a few years ago, and people was like, you need to go to this restaurant, and if you don't get there early at some of these places in Texas, they're just out.
Yeah.
And really, when they opened at McGee's Crossroads, that was my first experience with going to a restaurant and it being out of the food I went to get. But that just tells you how fresh it is.
Oh yeah. And that's, I would say, like one of the things that sets us apart. Obviously the sauce like is amazing. Like that's our bread and butter. But most restaurants, just because of demand and also like it's expensive to cook things fresh because that means you have to have staff constantly. We're cooking overnight. There's staff that gets there at 4 and 5 in the morning and things like that. And it is expensive to do it that way. It is. Your overhead cost is much higher than if you're freezing stuff and you can come in, reheat, and send. But we just think that it makes such a big difference in quality that it's just something I'm sure as a competitor, like he's not willing to sacrifice at all. So is
the food for all the restaurants cooked at the commissary behind the Lowe's at 4042?
No, so both restaurants have smokers and they can cook on site. We just pretty much support. So like we're basically why they can open, like they're not running out at 5. Like
Okay.
so we just support. So like if it's a Saturday and it's like gonna be an insane day, like we can throw on meats for them, or a lot of times it's coleslaw, which is shocking. But a lot of times it's coleslaw and collards that we're like supporting on. So yeah, we just make sure everyone's good.
So, all right. So both restaurants, the one at McGee's and the one at North is open 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And their menus are largely the same, but not exact.
Yeah, there's like different perks to each. So like Redneck has breakfast, which I know like I'll see comments on North Hills' like Instagram, like bring breakfast here. But of course you want to encourage people to like try all the locations and you want to try different concepts at different places. So I always tell people like even if you've been to North Hills, like go to Benson. Even if you've been to Benson, go to North Hills. Like it's just so different. And then North Hills has a bar and their bourbon list is like if you're a bourbon drinker, just go look at the things that they offer and you'd be like, oh, like this is interesting.
Have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
Well, I guess one question I have for you is, why isn't there more than one cash register? And I know that's a design,
yeah,
but I mean, is that part of the freshness of the meal? Because you get in the line, there's only one point of sale, and sort of, while you don't have to wait for a table, you do have to wait in the line to order sometimes.
At Benson, there's 2 because Benson is our busiest store.
Okay, Benson has 2.
Yeah,
okay.
Even though it's smaller, they have 2 registers there, and then they have a register for like the to-go window. So that's nice. But I also like we harp on like being personable with people and like knowing people, and I think that comes from like starting in Johnston County. Is like you're like, okay, these are like our neighbors, these are our friends, like that's just the vibe in Johnston County. And so you're kind of like, okay, yeah, like I am ringing you up, but like I want to know you, I want to talk to you, like I want this to be like, okay, like I remember you, you remember me, type of thing. And so I feel like when you get people to slow down just a little, not insane, not you're waiting in line for 2 hours, but like you just get people to slow down a little bit, it becomes more of a relationship, which makes it a bit more memorable.
Okay. I enjoy going to both of them. So where did the idea of going to PNC Arena and having a concession stand there come from? They call you, you call them?
That was Jerry's plan and idea. He is a huge Hurricanes fan. Of course, I know his whole family like supports and everything like that, and then was going to the games. And I would say it was pretty much mutual interest. Like they need to reach out to you, of course. Like you can't just be like, hey, can I be here? Like I'm sure you could actually. Let me take that back. If you're ambitious, go for it. But I'm pretty sure it was kind of like a, hey, are you interested in this? And then he was just like, yeah, tell me what I need to do. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I know the players are huge BBQ Lab fans. A lot of them live around North Hills, and I see on Facebook there are Hurricanes players in there all the time.
Yep.
Your dad probably knows them all now.
Probably.
And I find it fascinating.
Yep.
Most Hurricanes players are not Americans. Most of them are from Europe.
Yep.
But they love North Carolina barbecue.
I was going to say that if you want the American experience, you need to get barbecue.
Well, and now, and I don't know if you know this, you probably do because you work there sometimes at North Hills, the opposing teams will often stay in the Renaissance.
Oh, yeah.
And now the opposing teams, because they have players that play for the Hurricanes and they know about the barbecue lab and they have friends, the opposing teams are there. So if you're an NHL hockey fan and you want to see some players, go to the barbecue lab at North Hills because you'll see a Hurricane. Sometimes I saw Facebook pictures not too long ago. The New York Rangers were there eating several Rangers. I think Jacob Trouba was there.
Yeah.
Like I was like, man, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Like when people are performing at PNC or like comedians, things like that, actors that are in town will see them just because North Hills is that area, like to stay in, to shop in, that type of thing. So North Hills is fun.
Well, I mean, they've done a tremendous thing. I mean, the Kane family, it's unbelievable what they've done, their vision, the way they've executed it. I mean, I would put the North Hills complex with any complex like it in the United States. And
For sure.
I've been very fortunate. I've been able to travel around the country following the Wolfpack. They have a similar thing in Phoenix where they had the Final Four, where I went to CNC State playing the Final Four this year, next to that arena out in Glendale. And, and I've been to other complexes. Columbus, Ohio has one as well, similar to North Hills. And I think North Hills is the best. I really do. It's tremendous everything they've done there, and it keeps growing.
Yes, they are killing it. So when I heard that like Copper District was coming and they're doing the Waterfront District in Flowers, I was just super excited for Johnston County because I'm like, yeah, like we should have things like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Copper District, when they do it, is going to be built on Highway 42 near the 70 bypass across from the hospital on 42. They're going to change that road. It's not going to be the 70 bypass anymore. It's going to be I-42, which is why Highway 42 at 4042 is becoming Highway 36 in February of 2025. That's a different podcast. Go back. We talked about that with Butch Lauder. If you want to go back to the first Butch Lauder podcast, you want to hear how that came to be. But yeah, I think it's fascinating. And the Copper District is going to look a lot like North Hills. I think when it's done, and it's going to be right there in Clayton, right there on 42 near the hospital. It's going to be really nice. And I don't know a ton about the Waterfront District other than I've heard the rumors of some really great restaurants possibly being there at Flowers Plantation.
Yeah, I haven't even heard that. So I feel excited. I'm just like, I heard that there was going to be shopping there, and that's all you have to tell me. I'm there. No problem. Like
all about shopping. So do you send your staff to PNC Arena, or is it volunteers from the community running that booth?
Yeah, so it's our staff that is actually putting the food together and pushing it out. The front, like the people that are at the registers are PNC staff, which I believe a lot of times are volunteers, if not all the time.
Okay.
I probably should have a better answer for that, but I believe so. But the people in the back are us.
Okay, so you know the quality. And then the food there, are they cooking it there, or are they bringing it from the commissary?
Yeah, we prep a lot at the commissary, but they have a kitchen in the back there. So it's easy to like fry things that we need to fry, like stuff like that, because as we talked about, we have that big tenderloin sandwich.
Yes.
And so frying stuff like before you get to a place, it gets icky. So frying on site and like making sure everybody's stuff is hot is easier. So they'll cook a lot. Pretty much, I would say like 75% is done there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. I've eaten that tenderloin pork chop sandwich. That's the biggest. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's enough for 2 meals. I mean, it really is. It's
is.
very good. I've enjoyed that there. And I got to commend the Hurricanes and Tom Dundon for, what they've done to up the food experience there. They've got a Chick-fil-A now. They brought in the barbecue lab.
Yep.
They really have gone out of their way to bring it. They've got a Two Roosters ice cream there now. They really have gone out of their way to go find the best of the community and bring it into that arena and make it where it's a win for the fans, a win for the Hurricanes, and a win for the businesses that are there as well.
For sure. If you're RBC era, which I think we are.
Oh, yeah. I've been going since it first opened.
Yeah. You're like, okay, yeah, this is great.
Way different than it was back when it was RBC and it first opened with Archie Miller.
We love
Archie Miller. And oh, my goodness. So, yeah, that's wild. So, let's talk a little bit. I mean, you run the catering operation. Yeah. So, the catering is not just barbecue. I mean, you cater about anything anybody wants. Talk a little bit about that and how people can get y'all involved if they want something catered.
Yeah. So on RBLCatering.com, we list we have the catering menu, which is barbecue. And then there is a tab that's like more than barbecue. And on that tab, it kind of like gives you menus that we can make if you want. And then we also like take requests. Like if we can do it, we'll do it. But we'll cook. We have a taco menu. We have an Italian menu. We have a home style menu that has like brisket pot pie and like just different things. I know our chicken and dumplings is really popular with a lot of athletes that we serve. So we just have a bunch that I think people would be shocked to know that we did. We have a Love Always menu for weddings, and that's kind of like our more upscale menu. You'll find salmon on there. You'll find ribeyes on there. We did kind of like a private tasting dinner. It wasn't semi-private tasting dinner on Valentine's Day or around Valentine's Day where Jerry cooked menu items from that menu and people were able to come and try it. And so I think even that group of people were like, we realize that you guys did this.
I didn't realize you did it until I went to your website preparing for this podcast. I really thought it was just barbecue, but I mean, it sounds like y'all cook just about anything.
Oh yeah, like everyone that's in our kitchens, they're all cooks that we taught to make barbecue, so they can cook. Like they can cook food, and then we were like, "Here's how we make barbecue." So yeah, we can make pretty much anything.
How many employees are in? I mean, how many employees are in the catering side?
Oh, geez.
Do you even know? I know you're in charge. You know how many employees work for you?
I was like, that's hard. I'm gonna go with like 30.
Okay, yeah. 30. I got you. And does the commissary open 7 days a week?
Yeah, we're there every day unless we just like for some reason. Obviously, we have a couple months that are just slow for food service and like events in general.
Right.
And so on those months, we'll be like, okay, we're probably not going to open on Monday, or we're not going to open on Wednesday. But anytime we have an event, we are there.
Right. And I mean, roughly how many events are y'all doing now?
Oh gosh, I think I turned in like to our accountant, I want to say like just catering. I can't remember. This doesn't include food trucks. This doesn't include Dirt Bag or PNC, but just catering. I think I turned in like 1,500 something events last year.
Jeez, that is a lot of events.
It was nuts.
I mean, that's 4 or 5 a day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now, is there a minimum? Like, I mean, is it 10 to 10,000?
Yeah. So
I know it's 10,000. I saw that.
We have a 25-person minimum, and then we'll go to however many you have. And then we also have pickups, which is nice, like where people will come to the comm and they'll just pick it up, even though they have a larger group. Okay. And then we have drop-offs where we'll just deliver, and then, or you can choose a full service catering. So pickups, drop-offs, full service, all included. We did about 1,500 last year.
Man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
With 30 people.
Yeah.
That's some hardworking people.
There's some gangsters over there.
That's some hardworking people.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everybody knows the food trucks.
Yeah.
But there's a taco truck.
Yes.
Right. I like the barbecue truck, but I've eaten at the taco truck too. Mm-hmm. That's true. The nachos they are very good. They need to get those into the stores.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, North Hills will run specials, and I know they had a nacho special at one point. So like, watch out for that.
Okay. And so the food trucks, you can call and ask for the food truck to come to your neighborhood or come to your event, right?
Yeah. So there's minimums if you have a public truck, which a public truck to us means that you're having the people that come to the truck pay for the truck. But if you do a private truck, you can book it like with us and like curate your menu, what you want to serve people, control the price, and then we'll send you an invoice for that. And then people just pay, and then we go and we serve, and it's done. I think private trucks are smoother. You don't have to guess.
You don't have to guess how much food you need to eat, and you don't, right? Right, that's true. Good point. Yeah, well, the truck has come to my neighborhood, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
And I've seen it at tons of other events and school events and stuff like that. Yeah. I know y'all are big supporters of the community as well.
Yes.
And is there 2 of them?
Yeah, so we have 3 trucks in total.
3 trucks in total.
Barbecue truck and taco truck are the only like food that's served off of there, but we have 3 trucks.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I guess the last question we'll ask you, we've talked about, now I'm hungry. And now I'm hungry.
Hey.
Because we've been talking about barbecue.
We are serving food right now.
Right. I know, right? Anyways, the last question we ask everybody, you live in Johnston County. What do you love most about Johnston County?
I know this is going to sound like not true, but genuinely the food. Like I have little spots that I just like have to have each week. Anthony's in Clayton, they have a penne vodka pasta, and I'm pretty sure they probably see my name on DoorDash at least once a week, like easily. I want someone to reach out to them and ask if they know that, but they have to. Like I'm obsessed. And then there's just different like little spots that just have things that are like next level. Like I just think people out here can cook.
It's awesome. The food really is great. And the barbecue scene out here is great. Mm-hmm. I mean, in Johnston County, you have White Swan, you have Stephenson's also at McGee's Crossroads, you have Redneck BBQ Lab. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's just tons and tons of great barbecue in the area. Yep. And as you can tell, I've eaten my share of it, and I definitely love barbecue. Well, we'd like to thank Mercedes for coming on and talking to us today about all things Redneck BBQ Lab and RBL Catering. Like I said earlier, if you would not mind leaving us a 5-star review wherever you're seeing it and liking and subscribing to this podcast so that you'll be aware of future episodes of the Best Johnston County Podcast, we would be very appreciative. Until next time, I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.